So Caitlin Clark today, after letting everything kind of settle, showed she's going to be one of the greatest of all time, barring injuries. If Caitlin Clark improves her defense 10%, she's already one of the best players in this league. She had she was 1 point off. She's 29. 30, 13, 5 steals, 3 blocks, and 5 boards. If the defense had it picked up, I don't know. And her being bad at defense isn't what people realize. Like, obviously, I'm going to talk more about the good things in this game, but I do want to talk about the defense because that is just the one major blip on her resume right now. Before we get on to things, though, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We are trying to hit 20,000 subscribers by the end of the day, and we're 170 off right now. But the defense and the team's defense is terrible. The team's defense is terrible, and that's kind of the worst part about it, is that this team plays really bad defense, and they have an inability to guard cutters. They have an inability to guard, and it's like guard pin down screen, not even pin down screens, like just weak side. Anything weak side is going to leave a wide open cutter. So if you got a passing post player like Dolson was, they really struggle to guard it. And look, I'm not like Caitlin is no worse than Erica Wheeler. She's no worse than Kelsey Mitchell. She's no worse than Katie Lou Samuelson at it. She's no worse than Christy Wallace at it. They're all equally terrible, but that's not an excuse. Just because she's not as bad at one aspect of defense as her notoriously bad defensive team, or she's not as bad. She is not worse than any players. Like, none of them can play defense. And if she's going to be one of the greatest ever, she's going to have to be at least better. She's not the worst on-ball defender. Straight up, she is not the worst on-ball defender in the world. She just, if she's guarding, struggles to get through screens and struggles on cuts. That's the big problem with Caitlin Clark on defense. And I will say, though, other than that, this was one of the, like, had they came back and won, I would put this as the number one individual performance. And you might be saying, but like, oh, but they didn't win. Yeah, that's the reason I'm not putting this as the number one performance of any player during the season. It's still top 10. It's still top 10. And offensively, she was responsible for 60 of her team's 84 points. She scored or assisted on 60 of her team's 84 points. And also, again, the Aaliyah Boston one that was ruled off. She would have set the franchise records in assists. She has tied the franchise record 13 assists for, in 3 games. In her last 5 games, she is genuinely, what's she averaging? I'm pretty sure she's averaging in her last 5. If I'm not crazy, she's averaging like 12 assists a game. No one has ever averaged 10 assists a game. And I know a 5-game sample size is a small sample size. No one has ever averaged 10 assists a game in the history of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark is averaging 12 over her last 5 games. And it's not looking like it's going to stop anytime soon. Look, the Fever were all over the place today. They're obviously trying to play a more run and gun style, but they couldn't get stops, so things were more difficult. And again, when you start getting stops, it's easy to do. This all comes from defense. I'm going to make a video talking about Celeste Taylor a little bit later. But at the same time, you got to give credit. She had a stat line that no one in the history of the sport has had. She is a rookie. She hasn't even played 25 games. She had 29, 13 assists, 5 boards, 5 steals, and was 2 blocks off the second ever 5x5 game. To do that with 30 and 13 assists is wild. She had 29 points, same thing. 13 assists. Like, what? What? She was responsible for 64 points. 64 points. Did every team score 64 points today? The Atlanta Dream scored 69 points. The Connecticut Sun scored 68. The Sparks scored 67 points. She was responsible for 3 points less than the Sparks scored as a team today. 4 points less than the Sun, and 5 points less than the Atlanta Dream scored today. Like, what? What? Like, look, this team is historically bad on defense. They are historically bad, and I don't care about the numbers. I don't care about maybe, XYZ team played worse defense this game. No, they were garbage on defense against the Liberty. The Liberty just couldn't hit a shot. And in fairness to the Washington Mystics, they hit everything. Ariel Atkins hit shots. Dolson hit shots. Like, this favorite team's the worst defensive team I've ever seen. But genuinely, I think I need to stop the trying to hype up, trying to convince Dejanay Carrington, trying to speak that into existence into the Indiana Fever. She's not going anywhere near the Fever. She has very much made that clear. She is not going anywhere near the Fever. But and people are like, oh, Caitlin Clark fans when no one goes in free agency. Man, you don't even need good players. You need people to play defense and run. You don't even need anything special. You need an athletes to play defense. That's all you need to surround Aaliyah Boston. Like, they that's all you need to do. That is all you need to do is surround them with runners. Surround them with Temi Figbenleys of the world. Just surround them with runners who play defense. Kelsey Mitchell was bad today. Yeah, it is what it is. But Caitlin Clark, those 13 assists, and again, the amount of times early in the game that she hit Katie Lou under the basket, and I wish Katie Lou just, when she's facing away, or she's near the baseline, facing under the basket, I wish she'd just go up. I wish she would just go up. She might draw a foul. Like, Katie Lou ends up turning it over half the time. Aaliyah Boston, one of them had an open layup off a pass, kind of went for a hook shot and traveled. The refs really screwed Aaliyah Boston today. But you can't argue that this is not, like, as far as offense goes, and you might be saying, but like, oh, a loss, it doesn't matter. But then the double-double streak doesn't matter. So the only people who say it's because it's a loss, it doesn't matter are Angel Reese fans, and then that means you can discount the entire double-double streaks. They're 5-9 during the double-double streak. But this team right now is not great. They're one of the worst defensive teams I've seen. They can get really hot. They're a young team. And then the fact is like, a lot of her game was in the fourth quarter. When she started scoring. When she really started scoring, that was in the fourth. That was like, no, I'm not letting us go out like this. I'm going to the basket. I'm drawing the fouls. I'm attacking. I'm hitting these threes. He almost willed her team back from a 21-point deficit. They were back to 3. And then the fact is, in the post-game interview, she's talking about how annoyed she was that she let her teammates down by, like, not keeping her hands on a rebound at the end of the game. She single-handedly, her and Lexi Hull. So I'm not going to say single-handedly. She single-handedly got them back into the game that they had no right to be in. And they were down 15 with 4 minutes to go, and she almost got them back in. She's there calling the team together. One stop. We've got this. One stop. So this was the pinnacle of what Caitlin Clark can do on offense. If she can pick up the defense at any stage in her career, if Caitlin Clark never gets better on offense as just a player, and she just improves defense 25%, she is going to go down, barring injury, as the greatest guard this game has ever seen. And that includes Sue Bird. She's going to smash every assist record there's ever been. She's going to be the first player in the WNBA to average a double-double with assists. She's going to be that. Like, offensively, I think genuinely she's going to break all those records anyway. But obviously, if she's remains as bad on defense, and I actually think on ball she's not that bad, just off the ball, this whole Fever team is horrendous, and she's a big part of the reason why they're horrendous. They all are. Like her, Mitchell, Katie Lou, Christy Wallace, who else plays? Got Erica Wheeler. They're all equally as bad as each other, but that doesn't excuse Caitlin Clark. If she just becomes not even a plus defender, but not a minus defender, with what she already has, even if she does not get better on offense, she is going to be the greatest guard this game has ever seen.